It's fix number 9 coming your way in War Thunder. That's right. Sorry I'm a little bit late on this one. It came out yesterday, but I've been having a little bit of a busy time the last couple of days. So let's get on with what we got and let you know what's coming, or what's actually already here. So with It's Fix number 9, they got a couple of patches they're referencing here. First up is cards for special weaponry. And this is so you can actually highlight during a battle what the ammunition that you're using on your tank is actually capable of using. In order to use this, you'll need to go through a few additional steps. So let's take a look at what those are. We'll switch over to War Thunder here, and we'll go to our controls. We're going to go to Common, and then we're going to scroll down until we find the Show Mouse Cursor. You map a key there, or you might already have one. I don't know if there's a default or not, but you map a key there to Show Mouse Cursor right here. And then when you go into a battle, you've got your mouse doing its work, aiming your tank. Well, if you hold down that mouse cursor button, it shows the cursor right here. And you can hover it over the ammunition you're using on your tank. This will show you all the details, including that fancy little animation there. So that'll let you know if you got a chance of doing what you think you're going to do. Now, this has more effect for those realistic battles than it does arcade, because with arcade you do have the little green plus sign going on for you. But this is real helpful if you're just not quite sure if you're going to be able to do what you think you're going to be able to do. So take a look at it. It'll help you remind you of what your ammunition is capable of doing. All right, let's continue on down. In the previous It's Fix number 2, we had fixed disappearing ground vehicles for aircraft at distances greater than 1 kilometer. But in some locations with difficult terrain, the problem might sometimes be repeated. Thanks to your reports, we found many such places and fixed the display of the vehicles in them. Basically, there's probably still going to be points on certain maps where tanks are going to disappear into the terrain. If you find them, create a bug report. Let Gaijin know. It looks like they're fixing them. Go for it. Next up, new flares. And I'm going to summarize this one. Those flares coming down, they just aren't really doing much for people who don't have the thermal vision and night vision already researched on their tanks. This expands the amount of time the flare will display, and it expands the range of the light that it does display. So that's a lot bigger and a lot more visual information for those that haven't managed to grind out those modifications. And if you are one of those people who doesn't have those, having that might make it possible for you to at least partially participate in those night battles that do come up, especially at the upper tiers. As we mentioned in a previous It's Fix, they supposedly fixed this issue, but it was still rather buggy and flaky. The driver was going uphill was still shifting at the wrong times and making so the vehicle would slow way down and then downshift back and forth. So I still maintain my manual transmission control settings for my tank just in case. But it looks like they're saying they fixed this bug. And that bug is when you're driving uphill, it will literally shift itself up until the torque is no longer sufficient to pull the hill. Now the driver will not shift up to the next gear up if it does not have enough power to keep the hill, to pull that hill. So awesome, glad to hear it. It'll make life a lot easier. This one's a new one on me. Correct operation of the throttle. You probably got used to the fact that switching to wet mode and leaving it in an aircraft is done by a short press of the increase or decrease thrust button. It is convenient and understandable. Unfortunately, this mechanism broke and switching to normal 100% thrust suddenly became difficult. We put everything back the way it was. It is now easy again to switch WEP on and off with a short press on the thrust control button as before. Now, I actually have my settings to where I have to hold down the button to use WEP. So I don't actually make use of this feature. But it is a thing, and you can have it set to where you just touch your throttle when you're at 100%, it goes into WEP, and then you touch it again to turn it off. So they fixed that bug that they were having, and glad to hear it. Good for those who have it that way. And for those of you who have those VR headset thingies of the future, they're working to continue to improve the performance of VR headsets. They fixed the double image in the mirrors of aircraft, the disappearance of some objects in the right lens of your headset, and the vignette of the AGM-65 Maverick missiles, which wasn't moving in the view. We're continuing to work on fixing bugs in War Thunder VR mode and would like to thank all players who have reported issues to us they have found in VR mode. There's a whole list of other patch items that came in with this particular It's Fixed. A couple of them that I thought might be interesting. The Cromwell 5 RP3, BM824, Calliope the M26 T99, and the Panzerwerfer 42, the RPT-5, all have externally mounted rockets or missiles of some kind. And damage to the rockets outside the hull no longer initiates an overpressure damage. So you can't blow those up by just merely hitting the rockets with a 7.62. For those of you who are in arcade, the PGZ-04 has fixed a bug that prevented missile reloading in arcade battles. And for the rare case in which you might actually get to use a nuclear bomb in War Thunder, the B-29 and Tu-4 now spawn over the airfield. Flight time before the bomb is dropped has been reduced from 2 minutes 30 seconds to 1 minute 50 seconds, depending on the distance between the airfield and a drop point, which is, I think, overall good. If you've managed to gather up that much RP, you should be able to make use of that in a reasonable time frame. By reducing this time frame from 2 minutes 30 seconds to 1 minute 50 seconds, that's a small, relatively speaking, change, but you still have time to intercept. If you have aircraft in the air, you still have time to try and finish out, catch the last couple of kills or whatever you need to do to finish up your match. And overall, it just results in a better experience in that regard. Even in the games where the nuclear bomb has come into play to end the match, it's happened late in the match. It's not an early match thing. So should be a good change on that regard. And they actually put some numbers in the patch notes for the flares, the illuminating radius of the flares. In this case, it goes from 600 to 1700 meters. And the triggering height has been increased from 450 to 600 meters. So it triggers higher and it illuminates more. And that's all the things that caught my eye. Take a look at those patch notes. They've also got some additional patch notes for the next day where a few more bugs were fixed. I'll just keep those on the screen for about 5 seconds here. Thanks for joining me today. If you enjoyed this type of content, give me the old thumbs up. Let me know if you saw anything in the change logs that were more interesting to you and you thought I might have addressed in more detail because it's of interest to you. And you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you in War Thunder.